Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. How long we have audio, we have no idea. This meeting takes place in the traditional and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Now, before we move on to the agenda, I have a little something I want to say about recent power outages. The town of Lunenburg Electric Utility has made infrastructure upgrades as a priority. In the fall of 2025, Council pre-approved the electric utility's 15+ million capital plan for the next 5 years to complete necessary upgrades and to ensure reliable service for all customers. These investments are crucial to maintaining service for both current and future customers. We will be putting out a debrief on yesterday's outage a little later, but for now, I'd like to talk about a meeting we had today. This afternoon, we had a productive meeting with representatives from Nova Scotia Power at Town Hall. This alone speaks to the strength of our partnership that we were able to meet and debrief just 24 hours after an outage. We appreciated the opportunity to candidly review some of the challenges that we have encountered recently. Together, we are working to stabilize and balance the grid and create faster recovery times when issues arise. At today's meeting, we discussed several projects already in the pipeline and they are accounted for in the capital budget. That will help bring up these improvements. We're also exploring new options that could expedite progress and reduce strain on the current system. It is important to remember, though, that the infrastructure, the grid, belongs to the town and not Nova Scotia Power. While the system has its challenges, there's tremendous value in the service agreement and partnership. Nova Scotia Power works with us to operate, strengthen our grid so we can best provide the best possible service. Council has committed to upgrading a system that, frankly, is long overdue. It will take time, but we will reach our goal. In fact, recent upgrades have already made a difference. Yesterday's outage in the Centennial Avenue area would have lasted significantly longer without the improvements we've already made. We remain committed to building a strong, safe, and reliable grid. Clear communication is part of that commitment. We are continually improving on how we share information and will aim to provide updates every few hours during the outages. And I just want to add that it was some talk about it has to be more than just on social media. Well, we were on Go Rock and CKW and the country station out of CKW every hour. So we were on 3 different radio stations as well as every social media channel. So with a power outage, I'm not sure how else we get the word out. So the best way to stay informed is sign up for the email updates via the website. Mind you, with no internet, that wouldn't have helped. And if you need to contact us, please call our electric utility directly, not through Facebook messages or online forums. We're here and we want to hear from you, and we really are trying our best to solve the problem. So again, thank you very much, everybody. Now we'll move on to additions, deletions to the agenda. We do have one addition here that council add HR items to the closed session under agenda item 15. Is someone prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Fullerton, seconded by Councillor Strong. So is someone prepared to the council approve the agenda for March 3rd, 2026 meeting as amended? Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Babineau. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried. Approval of the minutes. 5.1, recommendation that council approve the February 2nd, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Strong, second by Councillor Greek. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. February 10th, 2026, recommendation that council approve the February 10th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Strong, second by Councillor Babineau. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. There are no presentations, so now we're going to move into our public input and questions. So for this, we actually have one virtual that we're going to do first, and then we have 5 other people signed up. So we'll do the virtual one first, and then we'll move on to the other 5. And I'm just going to go over the rules. Each person's limited to 3 minutes. Each person must state their name. Questions and comments are directed through the chair, and comments and questions are actually open to any municipal matter. So I guess Townsend, are you ready?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Jesus. Hello,
County, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you see me?
We can't hear you, so just hold on.
I have the audio on, yes.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
You guys okay with it? That's probably
Can you see me?
No. No video. It's okay. Just audio is fine.
Can you hear the audio?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. That's what matters. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Your worship, Mayor Myra, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Regarding my letter to Council included in this evening's agenda packet, in an email to me, Caleb Byrne kindly sought to explain the staff report dated February 3rd, 2026 regarding Council's choice last August to proceed with the purchase and sale agreement, signaling that it did not wish to pursue designation. Through no fault of Ms. Byrne, her email raises more questions than it answers. Does the Council's wish not to pursue designation mean that a volunteer is barred from applying to register a municipal heritage property? If so, why was my preliminary draft application accepted at the August 19th meeting and the completed application accepted by staff on November 10th? And a month later, on December 17th, in an email to CAO Paul Knopper, I conceded that, quote, the town may well consider other non-heritage factors that lead them to a political decision, but the appropriate time for that decision is after the deliberation of the Heritage Advisory Committee. Mr. Knopper responded in part, I will be following up on your requests and reviewing the processes with the team here. HAC is a committee of council and can only make recommendations. In the end, council does have the final say on any designations. Until the staff report for the February 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting, neither Mr. Knopper nor his staff ever stated or even implied that council has already made a decision on the application back in August 2025. Nor had anyone notified me that my application would not be considered. Nowhere can I find a written right of the council to bypass this process. Several questions enumerated in my letter to council attached to this evening's agenda packet were left unanswered by council, not the least of which is, what if the interim CAO at the time had answered the two questions under number 5 of the Public Land Profile Evaluation Tool correctly? All indications are that this council does not want to be on record for refusing to register a property, despite there being not a scintilla of evidence disproving its significance. Why is council not transparent, not willing to be accountable to its own policies? Why have you been dismissing not only the intent of the enabling legislation, but the accepted norm going back at least to 2001? This council knows that the station is eligible to be listed on the municipal registry. To my concession to Mr. Knopper that the town council may well consider other non-heritage factors that lead them to a political decision, he also wrote, political or not, they have the right to make that decision. I agree. Why can't this council admit for the public record that this decision to sell a public asset without the protection it deserves as a heritage property was politically motivated and state its reasons for this motivation? This community deserves to know. Why is the CNR Lunenburg station not on the municipal register?
Tony, I have to cut you off here. We have 6 other people that want to speak. You had 3 minutes, so we're going to cut you off.
I have one paragraph left, this short paragraph. May I please state it?
Go ahead.
To date, by all appearances, you have been covering up not only an incorrect evaluation, but also negotiations that necessitated an alternative to municipal registry, as if there is an alternative. There is not. Short of legally requiring the purchaser to obtain a certificate of appropriateness from HAC without the honor bestowed upon a heritage property, in this case, our heritage property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Wendy Rofi. Before you go, Wendy, I just want to reiterate, usually we have like one or two people speaking, so you can speak. Usually we let you go as long as you want. But tonight we have to enforce the 3 minutes because we have 6 or 7 people lined up to speak. So, okay.
Am I on? Okay. To the chair and council members, my name is Wendy Rofi. I live at 134 Pelham Street. There are new bylaws up for discussion tonight. I am here to propose that another is needed regarding home surveillance cameras. Regulating and enforcing residential surveillance devices seems to be an area municipalities and police prefer to avoid. This approach can cause serious problems for those faced with their unreasonable use, like myself. The general view of reasonable use is that a camera should point at one's own property. It is common and not unreasonable for some portion of a camera's field to include some parts of neighboring or public property. The owner of the house next door to mine has multiple cameras that do not capture any of her property at all. One points at Pelham Street, and the remote operator regularly pans it on me going from the sidewalk across my porch to my front door and vice versa. Another camera points at my side door and another directly in my windows. Another with 2 panning lenses is in the back. That one records everything and everyone on Prince Street with both video and audio. It includes the front windows and access route for the Airbnb to the south and pans the entirety of my right-of-way to my house. The person listening and viewing with that device does not own any of those areas. That camera has also been used by the remote operator to speak hostile words to me while I am doing nothing wrong. Audio recording with personal surveillance cameras is illegal in Canada, but my neighbor has been doing it to me every day for over a year. When I tell people what's going on, they say, but that isn't legal. Lacking a bylaw or action from the police regarding nuisance and harassment, targets of such unreasonable and illegal use are forced into filing costly, time-consuming civil actions. I don't think that's right. A bylaw would mitigate many of these problems. Many municipalities across Canada have guidelines governing their own use of surveillance, but not what is done by residents. Why is it okay for a hostile person to remotely follow and record someone every time they come and go from their home? Why can a total stranger record and retain every word someone says on their own private property? I recently lived in central Hamilton, where property crime is significant and cameras are everywhere. They are one of a few cities that do have a surveillance camera bylaw. The basic wording is similar in every place: a bylaw that regulates the excessive fortification of land. What that means is basically installation, I'll just finish a couple of sentences here. The installation and use of video and listening equipment permitting viewing or listening beyond the perimeter of the land actually owned, leased, or rented. These rarely used bylaws seek to prevent the kind of excessive, unnecessary, and unreasonable situation I have experienced every day for over a year. And I'll just skip the rest and say that I believe a simple bylaw and enforcement is the only fair solution to this problem, which I'm not quite likely not going to be the only one, but my case is particularly extreme and very disturbing. So I would hope that there can be a consideration of creating such a bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Amy Funk.
Is this still on? Yes. My name is Amy Funk. I am the owner and chef of Shore Lunch Food Truck. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to talk really fast. 4 years ago, I requested an amendment to the mobile food vending bylaw, and it was approved. In your package last week, you will have read my letter, but today I stand before you in hopes of proving to you that this amendment is worthy of the town's time and resources. The industry's problem with the diabolical amendment proposal from 2023 were primarily noise regulation, distance, and relativity to existing establishments and permit fees. Do we want a greasy fish and chips truck parked right in front of the fish shack? Of course not. This is obviously not an option, and my amendment in no way asked for such a thing. All we need is a well-established vetting process to make sure food trucks pass town regulations and respectfully contribute to food diversity. I also addressed the permit fee in my letter with a suggestion that is 5 times higher per month than the current permit. The problem with amending the vending bylaw in Lunenburg stems from its current placement in the land use bylaw. This excludes private property owners from allowing vendors to park on their own private property. No other town in Nova Scotia has done this. By removing it from the land use bylaw, we could solve this problem more easily. I would also like to see no more than 2 to 3 town distributed spots that fall under regulation standards that are a fair distance and have menu diversity from brick and mortar establishments. Town Hall and its staff are buzzing with dozens of projects on the go, so why should this vending bylaw be important? Well, we know that tourism, which fuels Lunenburg's economy, isn't back up to what it was pre-pandemic, and we know that hundreds, if not thousands, of Lunenburgers' livelihood depend on the success of the tourist industry. When the tour boats come in from sea and people ask where they should go for lunch, where are they directed, and how long is the inevitable wait? We want people to stay in town, but Lunenburg statistically has on average an extra 5,000 or so people in it per day in the summer. Food trucks were built to take overflow. They exist in thousands of towns and cities around the world for this very reason. They are there for the busy months and not for the quiet ones. When we think about what's important to this town, we have to think about both visitor experience and resident needs. As of right now, I serve about 90% local regulars, not only because my food is delicious and healthy, but because they have so few quick options during their lunch break. Whether or not the owners of local food and drink businesses like it or not, Lunenburg has a reputation for long lines, and we are losing tourists during peak hours. Nothing bad is going to happen if we offer people a tiny bit more. It is small-minded to think that the only way you can be successful is by limiting people's choices. All I ask for is what most other towns in Nova Scotia have, a bylaw that allows mobile vending on private property with a town permit. Moving forward, I can only hope the town does not once again skip the consultation process. Thank you for your time. My livelihood hangs in the balance of this amendment, so my fingers are crossed that I am not standing before you again.
Thank you, Amy. Next is Justin.
Hey, everybody. My name is Justin Cantafio, and I live locally. I'm a relocalization and local food systems practitioner. In my current role, I am the Director of Policy with the Center for Local Prosperity. I work on relocalization, I work on food sovereignty, and I work on community wealth building. I've been doing this for over 10 years. In previous roles, I was the Executive Director of Farmers Markets in Nova Scotia. I'm the chair of the Halifax Regional Food Hub and one of the founding directors of Atlantic Food Action Coalition. Let me give you some sad statistics. Take up the old violin here. From 2016 to 2021, Nova Scotia lost over 21% of its farmers. Less than 15% of the food we consume in this province is locally sourced. We have the most corporately concentrated grocery sector in the entire world. One of those grocery sectors is owned by a company literally called Empire. And we have over 40% of the wealth in this part of the world leaking out, disappearing, and not recirculating locally. Now, one food truck might not seem like a lot, but set against these statistics, every little bit counts. Shore Lunch is a leader and a beacon of hope in a time when wealth is disappearing and we're losing farmers at an alarming rate. Amy sources local. If you go to the farmer's market on a Thursday, guess who's buying produce there? And when you source local and you encourage local, then you have economic recirculation. You have local wealth building. You have what's called the community economic multiplier effect. A dollar spent locally recirculates and gets spent again. We've never needed local more than we need now. So it's time for Lunenburg to step up and support the champions who are putting it all on the line to try to do the right thing and build food sovereignty in your own backyard. So my question is, will council tell us how you will enable this local champion? Will you please amend this bylaw and finish this work so that things can get started as soon as spring? Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us all here this evening. My name is Sarah Romke. I'm a resident here in Lunenburg. I'm just an ordinary resident. I don't have policy background and I don't know much about vending bylaws and so on. But what I am is a customer of Shore Lunch. And I just wanted to come out and support Amy and just to give you an honest review, I guess. She provided a really fantastic communication to you, I think, with some great ideas and showing her work and how beautiful it is and so on. I just also want you to know that it's delicious and it's fresh and it's the kind of thing that you want to tell your visiting family and friends about. It's the kind of thing that you want to promote to tourists to show the kind of ingenuity and deliciousness that we can offer. Of course, there's lots of great food here in Lunenburg, but as Amy has already amply pointed out for us, it's sometimes hard to get in the summer months, especially as residents. Sometimes we kind of bemoan our lack of ability to get a restaurant table. So I just thought that it might be helpful to hear it from a total third party, just a customer who really enjoys the occasional steak bowl with both kinds of mayo in the summer. And thank you for your time and thank you for considering Amy's proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Megan.
Hello, is it on? Awesome. I just have everything written out here. So my name is Megan Doucette, and I am here to speak in support of a mobile vending bylaw that supports food trucks to set up in downtown Lunenburg, as proposed by Amy Funk. I'm a local resident living near Mahone Bay, and coming into Lunenburg is a regular part of my routine. I shop here, I eat here, I practice yoga here. It's part of my community. But in the summer, I have a much harder time trying to eat out in Lunenburg. It's so busy at restaurants in the summer that locals often avoid them, knowing they won't be able to get a table anyways. Having more food options downtown in the form of food trucks allows people to come and stay and spend time and money in our community. Not only would food trucks provide a place to eat, but they also add vibrancy to our downtown. Amy is a professional painter, and her food truck is a work of art. She basically brings a beautiful public mural wherever she goes. Food trucks and associated bylaws have been functioning in cities and towns across Nova Scotia and across North America for decades, and there are many examples of appropriate bylaws that staff can reference when developing a bylaw for the town of Lunenburg, along with consulting local food businesses. I urge you to create an enabling bylaw to allow food trucks this summer season. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you want to turn off that mic? That window's open again. Okay, so that's all the public presentations that we have. We're going to move on the agenda to correspondence. There are a couple items in correspondence that we've talked about already. So we'll get to 8.1, the vending bylaw. There's correspondence there from Amy and from Rihanna Visser. So the correspondence is in front of council. Does council wish to add anything at this time? Councillor Babineau.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to make a notice of motion. And that motion being that council directs staff to review the current vending rules and bring forward options for increased flexibility and modernization to a future committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's been a notice of motion made. So this will come back to a committee of the whole meeting with the old bylaw and a review from staff. And I do agree. I wasn't here, but I watched online 3 years ago in April. And we want to make sure if we do come up with a modernized bylaw that we don't want a repeat of 3 years ago, because that was not fun for anybody. And I do remember Amy actually saying at the meeting that the bylaw that was presented that night, she knew was going to not go over well. I'll put it that way. So again, I think we want participation from the people, from the business community, from, someone like Amy. If we're going to put a bylaw together, let's get those people all involved. So it'll come back at a future COTW meeting, and we'll hopefully come back with a more modernized bylaw. I will tell you, unfortunately, not are doing, but the way the MGA is written, it'll be hard to have a bylaw ready to roll with public consultation that for this year. Unfortunately, it's too bad this wouldn't have been, because I'll be honest, nobody in this building has talked about a vending bylaw since April 2023 because of the way it went with the previous council. So again, we'll leave it at that, and we'll wait to see. Hopefully staff will come back with a bylaw that we can all review and work with. So thank you very much again for those of you that came to present on that vending bylaw. So we'll move on to 8.2. There's a recommendation in front of us. Does somebody want to make a recommendation? Okay, let's go, Councillor Grieg.
I move that council proclaim March 2026 as Kidney Month in the town of Lunenburg in recognition of the importance of kidney health and to support the awareness efforts of the Kidney Foundation of Canada, including World Kidney Day on March 12th, 2026.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Strong. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. 8.3, there's a sponsorship request in your package for the Gary Wentzell March Break Hockey Tournament. Everybody should have it in their package. Does someone want to make a motion? Multiple levels of sponsorship. We can do any one of those levels or whatever your wish is. I guess I'm looking for either a motion, recommendation, or we just move along. It's correspondence, so we don't have to do anything, but they are asking for a donation. Yeah, but this tournament's in 2 weeks' time. So do we want to help them?
I think I'm going to leave it to my friend here on my.
Do we discuss what is kind of sticking in my brain, or like what?
Well, we have to come up with a better request sponsorship document, but we don't have it at this point. So at this point, we have to do what we've done for the last 50 years. And if an event comes up and they make a request to council, we can either approve it, deny it, move it forward. So they're requesting sponsorship for their March Break tournament, which they use the Lunenburg Arena, I assume. So that's what they're asking. We can, we've already given So Shore Minor Hockey, which is who's hosting this tournament, money, I think, in our grant proposals back in for
Specific to this.
I don't think, no, it was just Social Minor Hockey had requested funds for their hockey program, which we gave them, I think, I want to say $500, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
So this is separate,
all right.
but it's basically for a fundraiser for Social Minor Hockey. So,
Okay.
Prepared to move for 500. I'm prepared to recommend that council approve a silver sponsorship of this event.
it's been moved. Is there a seconder? Been seconded by Councillor Daphne. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Okay, so now we'll move on to the old train station and from Townsend Anderson, someone, Councillor Strong, Councillor Daphne, can you just turn off your?
So I spent some time on this today because I did read the letter carefully in the package of the agenda. And I just wanted to make a couple of clarifications. Mr. Anderson talks about hypotheticals. This is not a hypothetical situation. This is a very factual situation. And I thought I'd give it some background. There was no voluntary application submitted to me at the August 19th meeting. I never saw it. There was an intention or an expression of intent or an interest, but I never saw it move, a paper move from place to place. But above and beyond that, the negotiations that took place on this asset go well back in the past of a council before us. I'm not privy to any of those negotiations. In November 10th, 2025, an application was made. That's 3 months after the CAO was instructed by this council to enter into a purchase and sale agreement, and well over 1 year after the parties to that purchase and sale agreement conducted very good faith negotiations, where the issue of designating the building as a municipal, provincial, or federal heritage building was never raised. I understand. I don't know that. I was never part of those negotiations. Mr. Anderson relied on the 2021 or 22 report in the last correspondence we received to him that actually had in writing in it that council should determine whether the train station should be deemed surplus. Nothing happened between 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 to make that a municipal, provincial, or federal heritage building. That is where I raised the comment at the meeting that Mr. Anderson refers to, that the application didn't arrive on council's radar until the 11th hour. No application was made for a more stringent or rigorous process through the Provincial or Federal Heritage Railway Stations Act, which I've mentioned already, where under the protection of the act, a designated railway station cannot be altered, demolished, sold, or transferred without the governor and council authorizing. That is the strongest law of the land protecting heritage in Canada. Parks Canada actually works closely with railway companies to ensure that authorized alterations, and this is coming from a railway company making that application, not a municipality, not a third party in the community. A municipal registry of heritage property assesses the value on the local community. Last I checked, Lunenburg does not provide funding for a building on the rolls, but does afford a plaque. It might offer some protection in the context of a demolition application, but under the current heritage bylaw, even substantial alterations don't necessarily come back to the Heritage Advisory Committee to approve. This is a bit of a bone in my craw, but we're working with it, trying to get where we can and maybe modify it somehow. I don't know. This is not a purchase where the purchaser intends to demolish. Indeed, from everything that I know, this is a purchase where the purchaser intends to provide, with the guidance of a heritage architect, ways to make the building function better by renovating a parking bay into a usable space. That's one example. I guess that's the only example I'm aware of. We heard from those involved that they wanted the symbolism of the station to stay intact as a metaphor for the good work that Second Story does. I appreciate Mr. Townsend's passion, but I feel it is disingenuous to raise it as an issue after good faith bargaining has occurred and after public meetings and decisions and discussions have been made in which the majority of those who spoke up to council supported the transaction. Legally, I cannot support an after the fact application when the parties had proceeded in good faith for over 18 months, possibly 24 months in negotiating a transaction. The correct route in my mind would have been for Mr. Townsend or another interested party to pursue the Federal Heritage Railway Stations Act application as soon as that 2023 document was published saying that the town should determine whether the building should be made surplus. And that's all I have to say. I just wanted to clarify that I am a friend of heritage. I know I've seen that on social media that I may not be, but this application should have come up a lot earlier instead of after the parties negotiated in a very good faith way. And I still, to this day, after the motion was made in June, feel that the best stewards of this building are the purchasers.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on the correspondence? Okay.
Am I allowed to
We'll
comment?
move on to public hearings. I'll go down through the process. Public hearings, staff and or the applicant will provide an overview of the agenda item. Council may ask questions to staff or the applicant. The chair will open the public hearing for questions and comments from the public. This time you have 5 minutes to speak. Speakers must state their name before speaking. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. Once the public hearing is closed, no further questions or comments on the matter will be received as part of the public hearing process. So we're going to start with the staff report on it.
All right, thank you. So this has been to council a couple of times, but for the benefit of the public and the public hearing, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the proposed tour and horse-drawn vehicle bylaw. So during the summer of 2025, the town received several complaints and inquiries from members of the public regarding the welfare of horses used in horse-drawn carriage applications, particularly during hot and dry weather. So under the existing hack and trolley bylaw, staff were able to investigate and work with the operator to address those concerns. But while the existing bylaw provided that authority to respond, it's over 20 years old and it would benefit from some modernization and clearer parameters. So this review led to what is here tonight, the proposed tour and horse-drawn vehicle bylaw. So this proposed bylaw particularly strengthens animal welfare protections for horse-drawn carriage operations in several ways. So Section 7 requires an annual veterinarian certification confirming each horse is ready to work. And operators must also submit a safety, animal welfare, and emergency management plan with their application. And we can also get a veterinarian to sign off on parts of those if needed. And the bylaw also includes clearer authority regarding those extreme weather conditions and continues to allow the town to suspend operations where there are reasonable grounds for concern, including requiring a vet reassessment where necessary. The bylaw also modernizes and clarifies the rule for tour vehicle operators. So in the current bylaw, they're referred to as trolleys. So we've just modernized that and include them a little bit. So those rules would be licensing requirements, route approvals through traffic authority, insurance requirements, vehicle maintenance standards, just to make sure that any vehicle that's out and about giving tours is up to road safety standards. Schedule A is also new, so it establishes operational limits. So there's a maximum suggestion of 3 tour vehicles and 4 horse-drawn carriage licenses at any one time. And then there's also mechanisms that if we exceed those limits, it would come to council and we discuss how to allocate those fairly and safely. And then Schedule B sets out the license fees, which also may be amended by council resolution. And then finally, the bylaw strengthens enforcement tools, including complaint investigation authority, record-keeping requirements, and the ability to suspend or revoke licenses when there's non-compliance with any part of the bylaw. So those are kind of the highlights of the bylaw. So with that overview, I'll turn it over for questions and comments.
Thank you, Kayla. There have been a number of letters sent in and emails. So does anyone from council have any comments, questions? Councillor Strong?
I'm busy tonight. I've received, or we have all received, copies of concerns from the public, and it's made me think a little bit more than I was perhaps before on this. One is a map of the route so that people can understand the switchback system. If that could be added to the bylaw, that would be great. There was a question about potted plants, and I think in our original discussion, and this is actually a good sign of how long it takes for a bylaw to come before council. Our first discussion on this bylaw took place in August of last year. So we talked about shade at it, and I know that there are some things that can trap the heat and cause horses distress by having that shade, but I was wondering if there was any way maybe the parties could sit down again and talk about shade during when they're resting. The operator sent a number of authorities as experts for this type of bylaw in terms of enforcement. And this raised a concern that I kind of had buried somewhere, and that's not a good thing for a lawyer. Whether we have the jurisdiction over live animals, because my understanding is that that is a provincial jurisdiction in terms of care. We can regulate in terms of using the streets and public health and excrement and all of those wonderful things. But can we possibly work into the bylaw a way to defer to the experts and authorities that the operator sent to us so that we don't exceed our jurisdiction and have this part of the bylaw struck down at some point? Another concern that we heard from was that the vehicles should have a handbrake, and I'm not clear from the operator whether there are handbrakes on it. And now others may have picked up on the comments that we received, but those are the ones that, and cork in shoes, whether that would be helpful for us to regulate. Again, that seems to fall into provincial jurisdiction. So it's a difficult thing, but I guess maybe dividing the jurisdiction better would be helpful for enforcing it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Daphne?
In relation to what Councillor Strawn had just said, I'm a little leery of putting Shania in the position of making the call whether or not the horses should go back to the barn, sort of thing. I think we should probably defer or whatever and get the right people, the veterinarians or whoever to make that call, but have Shania work with them so Shania can use it as a learning opportunity. But I don't, not that you can't handle it, because I know you can, but I think it would take some of the heat off of her and would also show that we're actively looking after the animals' welfare.
Thank you. Kayla?
Just to clarify, the intent is that none of our staff are experts in animal welfare. So I know we don't like to say this, but the reasonable person standards, it wouldn't be on us to say whether a horse is healthy or not. Through the bylaw and the provisions we've created, it puts again that reasonable person standards where we can get a complaint, we can observe, is it extremely hot out? Are we under a weather advisory? Have we observed the same horse go around and around the block without any shade, without any water, without any rest? And then from there, the bylaw allows us to say, hey, from this reasonable person standards, we're going to ask you to suspend your operations, and then we're going to get you to seek the expertise of a veterinarian or other qualified professionals. As Councillor Strong alluded to, we're not in the authority of, we're not veterinarians. So it really is, what can we do from a municipal perspective without crossing over to that authority.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or concerns, questions from anything we received? Councillor Babineau?
I'm just trying to remember the correspondence that we received, I think also mentioned something about like a retirement plan, essentially for when the horses have kind of, I don't know how I would phrase this, when they need to retire and what that process looks like from the operator's perspective. So wondering if that's something that we should include as part of the wording.
Again, getting into that balance of what is perhaps our jurisdiction, but I think that could fall and maybe be clarified in that safety management welfare plan to say, what is your plan? What is the longevity of a workhorses and how do we determine that? So also with the annual reapplication, a veterinarian certificate has to accompany that. So every single year we would get a veterinary signed off certificate saying, yes, this horse is fit for work. This horse is fit for work. So again, avoiding us getting into a position to say 7 years is all this horse has or something.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, now we'll move in to the public part. We do have a virtual presentation first. So Margaret Christie. Do we have her?
Yeah, should be allowed to talk.
Hello?
All right, my bad. Ask to unmute. I think she's muted herself. I can't unmute her.
She's unmuted now.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Volume's up.
Okay, we're going to move on to the in-person, and if Margaret comes back, we'll just yell into the screen, I guess, and we'll go to you because we don't have any video for you. So first is Marnie Gent. Marnie, you're up. Marnie. You're up for public presentations? Yes. You're on the list. You don't have to speak, but you're on the list. So you have to go to the mic though, because people at home won't hear you.
Hey, my name's Marnie Gent, and if I'm too loud, say so. I live in Garden Lots. This has been an interest of mine for about 25 years or since the business started up. And I'm glad to see that now we're finally getting some new bylaws started up again. I think there's room for improvement on your proposals, but any bit of movement forward, I'm pleased with. The biggest concerns are the horses working in excessive heat and humidity. And with the climate being the way it is, it's only getting worse, not better. So I think now is the time to make sure that we actually really iron out a safe measure for the horses. I have offered for all these years to provide shade for the horses at my expense, should that be necessary. And that would be that, and I've talked to people that are in gardening businesses about getting boxes that had maple trees in them, that we would keep them clipped low so the canopy would get big. It wouldn't block a view of anything but the parked cars from all the restaurants. I've talked to the restaurant owners about this and they all think this is great. The horses could come in and stand underneath the tree. It would look much better. There wouldn't be any kind of heat trap. It would be a tree that would look beautiful for town and it would provide real shade for the horses. And then in the end of the season, your forklift could come in and move it back to your garden center, and in the spring, move it back, so it wouldn't be in the way of any plowing. And I could work with town about drawing up designs and stuff. If the town wanted to pay for that, I'd be happy. If not, I'll put my money in and get this done, because I can't bear to see these horses. I've grown up with horses. And yes, they might like to stand in a field in the sun, but they can pick and choose if they're going to be in the sun or they're going to be in the shade. The drivers can pick and choose if they want to work there or not. The horses don't have a voice. We are it. So the voice is that we need to do more for these horses to provide them. If they're going to keep this business going, then we have to work to make sure it's the best we can do. They need to have proper footwear, which is rubber shoes or cork shoes, so they don't slip and the impact on their legs is lessened. And yes, they need to have brakes. They do have water down there now with the owners that are there now, which is fine. They still have all their tack on. I'm glad they're not getting hosed down and not scraped off anymore. So that's something being tidied up a bit helps. The biggest thing is they should not be out in excessive heat and humidity. And they should definitely be provided with shade. And every time if it gets too hot, you're going to call a vet down, good luck. Because up until just recently, the only vet that we had for equine vet, and you need an equine vet, not just a vet, has to come from the valley. We do have a new vet around here that does equine. She's new, so she doesn't have a lot of experience, but you take a horse's temperature, and that's going to tell you, and a good vet would be able to eyeball the condition of the horse and see. If they're sweating, that's a good thing. If they're pouring sweat, that's not a good thing. And the big problem is when they stop sweating, the next step is collapse. And I don't think this town wants to be all over the news because they allowed it to get to the point where horses are collapsing like they do in New York. There's many cities around the world that are now getting rid of this. Montreal, New York is almost there if they're not already. Paris, Barcelona, lots of places. There are alternatives to having horses draw these carriages. So there, I probably used up my 3 minutes and then some. Okay.
No, you're good because you get 5 in this if you want to keep talking.
Oh.
You got 1 more minute. So.
Okay, folks, get comfortable. So. I think I could go on and on. I mean, I'd like particulars done, but I really think those are the big things. If we're going to work together, then we have to cooperate. Both sides of this have to cooperate. In the perfect world, this is going to end. This is not a thing that should be going on. Yes, it's historical. Well, guess what, folks? We have indoor plumbing now compared to when we first had horses dragging things around. Horse people do not work their horses. In the old days when they did fields and whatnot, they worked early in the morning, late in the afternoon in the summer days. They did not have them out there for the peak, didn't have them standing there, and they certainly didn't have them hauling heavy loads of people around a hilly little town and then coming down these hilly little streets, slipping and sliding and doing all sorts of damage to the road. You take a look at the road, you'll see the scars and the damage to their legs and their backs and everything else. They're big, strong, heavy horses designed for work. But there is, okay, I've done it, have I? There is a limit to the amount of work, but mostly it's their conditions that need to improve vastly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette Ernst.
My name is Jeanette Ernst, and I'm from First Peninsula, and I'm actually the person who for the last 2 years has been responsible for the care of these horses. And usually I'm not a spokesperson. I don't enjoy that, but my daughter has just had surgery, so I guess I'm the face today. I just want to say that, first of all, that I've had a variety of opportunities over the years to read these bylaws. The business was started 30 years ago with my horse by Basil Oikle, and it's come full circle. It's now operating off of our farm again. I personally look after them every day and love them, and their personalities, individuals to me, not just generic horses. I've looked at these bylaws over the years. I'm very happy with what's been done to them. Whoever has written this latest incarnation has done a lot of work to clean it up and make it clear, to also bring it into line with what actually happens at the waterfront, which it wasn't before. It makes it possible to not violate the bylaws because it makes sense. I appreciate the section that's been brought in about having a plan. I think that's entirely appropriate. Anybody looking after animals needs to have a plan. I would comment with regard to heat that there are official guidelines with regard to how what conditions are appropriate to work horses in, and it's not just a temperature, it's a combination of temperature and humidity. There's a point where you don't have to worry at all. There's a point where you need to keep an eye on the horses. And then there's a heat and humidity combination that I would think virtually never happens in Nova Scotia, where you absolutely shouldn't work them. But we're aware of that. I can't tell you off the top of my head what exactly those things are, but that's part of our plan, for example. There's one little detail which is not covered in the bylaws, which I would like to mention, and that is that we have a training cart that we use to introduce the horses to town. It's just a little two-wheeled buggy. It's not appropriate for taking anybody but one or two training people in town. It's safer for introducing the horses in the first place because they're not dragging a big wagon behind them. And also the other reason we use it is if we're switching horses midday for some reason, like if a horse for some reason can't continue the day, like we've had problems before, we bring another horse in with that cart. It means we don't have to walk, the whole distance behind the horse. We can drive, and then we drive the other horse back. If there be some provision in the bylaws, I know you want to ensure that appearance and safety are covered for the anything being pulled behind the horse, but to pay a full $500, it's been switched from the places to the wagons in terms of licensing at this point. So it's unclear where this buggy would fit. To pay a full license fee for a buggy that we're not using for people to take people around wouldn't work for us. But there should be hopefully some provision made for that. I just throw that out. I do appreciate the flexibility that is allowed by providing the town with a care plan for the horses. Because like anything, say child raising, for example, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's things that are honestly abusive, but in terms of caring for a child, we don't all do it exactly the same way. And that's true with animals as well. And as what this allows is it allows us to show how we're caring, what fits. It's not so detailed that we have to just be straitjacketed in terms of how we're able to care for our animals. And there are trade-offs that you take in caring for animals. For example, we want to provide our animals with the best social situation as possible. That means that we let them out in a field. Unfortunately, it also means that they're biting each other because they're socializing with each other. That's one of the things they do. And therefore,
we're done. Your time's up. Okay.
Pardon me?
Your time's up, Jeanette.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
I didn't know whether anybody wanted to ask any questions regarding the issues that were being discussed earlier. I'm willing to answer any if you want.
Okay. Does anyone from council have any questions?
Certainly.
Councillor Strong?
The handbrake, I didn't talk about that with you when we met last August, but are there handbrakes on the?
Handbrakes on the large wagons. There is not on the small wagon, simply because a brake would make zero difference. The brakes on the large wagons make it easier for them to go downhill.
Any other questions?
And
Councillor
would you
Strong?
object to us having a map of with allowing for transporting from the farm into town? But of the path that, or the route that the horses follow each day, because we get reports. I think, oh, I saw them there and they were off of there and they were there. And I know that they're not there. I know that this is a pretty standard route. I've walked it since we met last
Well,
summer.
don't we provide you with one when we?
So you wouldn't object to having that put into the bylaw?
Well, you all sometimes change it. So I wouldn't think that the bylaw would be a smart place to put it. We have to have it approved by you and we're kept to that. But to actually set it in stone, I doubt you all want that.
Yeah.
So
It's okay with
comes
it,
with
but I
the
doubt you all
application?
want it.
Okay, so I understand it now.
Sometimes they have to reroute because of construction, movies, whatever might be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And next we have Elizabeth Powers. You're signed up, or did you think this was just a sign up for why you were here or whatever? Okay, no worries. Okay, so did we find our virtual person? Who is it? Okay, so we have nobody else. So hold on here now. So at this point, does anyone else from council, we'll close the public hearing first of all, unless anybody else wants to speak on it. Okay, so I need a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Councillor Fullerton, seconded by Councillor Strong. All those in favor? Motion carried. So now, basically the public hearing is closed. And at this point, does anyone else have any comments they want to make on it, or we'll move forward? Ready? Yep. Okay, go ahead.
So just to clarify some of the comments made for council, perhaps before we bring this back for the second and final reading, we could just confirm what are some of the changes we'd like to see. So we talked about a few things, and I think as we discussed it, we clarified some things that maybe do or don't belong. So from the notes I've taken, it's looking like maybe some more provisions about shade and shade structures and what that could possibly look like, which might take some time with traffic authority and making sure that's something that we could feasibly do. And I think that was really the big one there. And then if we wanted to add provisions about perhaps not charging the full carriage fee for a training buggy, and how we treat that a little bit differently as it's not hauling passengers per se. Were there any other points that council would like to see changed in there?
Does anybody have anything else? I'd just like to say, I really think some sort of shaded area down there would be a nice addition to the spot. I don't know how it works with Tyson and our traffic authority as well, but I do think that a shaded spot down there would be great for the horses, and it would actually make the place look a bit nicer. So if we could, staff could discuss that option, that would be great. Anything else? Okay, so we'll move on then to 9.2. Is the public hearing on the marketing levy. So once again, it's open to the council at first. So anyone have any comments on the marketing levy we have here in front of us? Councillor Strong?
It's me again. I have a message from the deputy mayor, which will come from me, which is that the name change better describes what the bylaw is about, and adding a clause that to ensure that accommodation owners are consulted as requested. These are all things that we feel good about. And I'll skip over the other and say how important it is now with the latest round of what's being discussed in the province right now of reducing marketing and visitor information centers, how important it is to get this business finished. So if you have any other comments from my fellow councillors, this is the time to do it. Because this is delayed, it's delayed by a year, I think, from now to come into effect. And yeah, that's it here. Bye.
Anybody else? I can just say that for somebody that's talking about a short-term accommodation levy since 2009, I'm very happy to see it's to this point. Nobody has signed up to speak on it, and nobody has signed up to speak virtually. So at this time, a motion to close the public hearing is in order. So moved, seconded. Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Fullerton. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. So we'll move on. There's no business arising or unfinished business. New business 11.1, information report from water and wastewater system. Tyson?
Thank you, Worship. Good evening, everyone. So I have a for information report tonight. This is following on from back on January 12th when staff presented the capital budget to council, and were requested to compose a report outlining the recommendations included in the water and wastewater system modelling reports written back in 2023. So within the report, the existing water and wastewater systems were looked at and characterized, and then it also looked ahead for population growth. So at that time, we were around 2,400 people, give or take, and it looked at projecting ahead to 3,500. So at that time, there were some topical developments that were looked at, and out of those reports, we were given some recommendations. So we'll start with the water distribution system. So based on the GIS information, the town has, the consultant looked at the performance of the water distribution system and also the modelling for the future expansion. So there were 6 recommendations that came out of that. So first being water consumption rates were noted to be high based on the population of Lunenburg. So reductions in overall water consumption can help to either defer or reduce the need for water distribution system upgrades. The second item noted was that the 300 millimeter diameter transmission main. So the transmission main is the line that connects the plant on Northwest Road all the way through town to the Taron up in Garden Lots. So it's approximately 70 years old and nearing the end of its design life. Town should be planning for its replacement or rehabilitation. And then the third item was replacement of the existing 300 millimeter diameter transmission main with the same size pipe is not shown to improve the hydraulic performance of the system. So it's not just a matter of the pipe's getting old, let's replace it with another 300 pipe. So the reports suggested considering either upsizing that to a 400 millimeter diameter pipe or twinning it, so putting in another 300 pipe to work alongside the one that's in place now. Fire flows should be considered for existing customers and future developments. Future developments at higher elevations in Lunenburg should consider the adequacy of available service pressures and fire flows. So our existing water distribution system, once it leaves the plant, there's 0 pumps within our system. It all works off head pressure. So talked about potentially needing pressure boosted zones, may be considered if these developments are allowed to proceed. So I remember us talking about it when we were looking at a potential development at Blockhouse Hill, that it would be a pressure boost zone potentially. And that's really just to do with the elevations. And then if future developments at higher elevations are to include multi-unit high-rise, the 400 millimeter distribution main upgrade would be recommended. And further local water main upgrades may also be required. So in terms of the transmission main, we're talking about 5.2 kilometers of pipe, so considerable amount. And to upgrade that from the existing 300 to 400, they came up with a ballpark number of $15 million. So daunting number for sure. And that item was included in the capital budget. I think that's where this whole report was initiated, and broken it up into smaller chunks, but still $1 million a year is certainly draws attention. And then in terms of the separate scope of creating pressure boosting zones to support those higher elevations, again, we're looking at a ballpark cost of $1 million per zone, if that was to be considered. So in terms of the projects that we've done for the water system since the report was written, we've done the upgrade to a section of Victoria Road, so the section from Green Street up to just before the blue building there. We did the water main loop to get rid of a dead end on Harbourview Drive, connecting it to Morash Lane. And then the water metering project is ongoing in terms of trying to cap that consumption that was talked about as under the first recommendation. So moving on to the wastewater collection system, we're dealing with a mainly combined system and our 9 lift stations to get wastewater to the plant, where the existing upgrades happening. The thing with the combined system, the combined system, just to elaborate, is where the sanitary and the storm enters the same pipe. So the behavior of that pipe in dry weather conditions as opposed to wet weather conditions is considerably different. It was also observed there's aspects of saltwater intrusion and groundwater intrusion in different parts of town. So the recommendations from the report, the first was the town employ base flow reduction strategies to minimize the amount of wastewater entering the collection system. So an example of this would be incorporating water meters. If the tap's on as much, I guess not as much goes down the drain when people are washing hands or doing other things. Maybe not so much washing hands, but washing vehicles, more that kind of thing. And then to ensure storm separation is coordinated and outfalls are adequately sized, sewer separation plans should be developed. And then there's 9 possible sewer separation and upgrade projects identified. So I've listed the 9 in the report with, again, just approximate costs associated with those. They cover areas in Old Town, front side, back side, aspects of New Town as well, Tannery Road and Centennial. So since the modelling report was completed, staff have completed the Tannery Road culvert condition assessment and the storm separation master plan that was included as a recommendation. The final report has been reviewed by staff and we've recommended some changes, but we should have that in the next month or 2, I would expect. Sewer upgrades and storm separation were included in the Pelham Street Road reconstruction project we performed in the fall. And ditching along Churchill was performed to help keep stormwater out of the combined sewer and get it into the storm separated section on Broad Street. So in terms of the financial commitment for council, I've gone through the capital budget document that was approved, and it includes the current year and also the look ahead to future years. So we have the water meter rollout that's in progress now, and the transmission main renewal that appears multi-years within that document. For the storm system, we have the Tannery Road culvert, the second phase of the Pelham Street project, a storm separation project for Kemp Street, a storm separation project for Prince and Hobson on the backside of town, and then the sanitary system, we have the sanitary upgrade. And I've just put a note here that we have to look for these opportunities to combine scopes so that when we're impacting roads, we're getting everything we can repaired and trying to gain efficiencies that way. So that's the recommendations from the report. A lot of information, but if there are questions, I can help with those.
Anybody have any questions? Councillor Babineau.
Not a question, just a comment. I want to say thank you very much for this. It's very thorough, and thank you for indulging me.
Anybody else?
Just great information. Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody out there watching virtually? We just $30 million would make this go away. So if you want to make a donation, you know how to contact the town. So we'll move on to the next part of the agenda, 11.2. There is a recommendation there in front of us. We do have a report. Yeah, we'll get Paul to speak to it, and then we'll go to the recommendation.
Sorry, council, have to move because my mic is not plugged in right now. So council, before you tonight is the Region 6 solid waste management budget that has been evaluated. So this is talked about across our regions and how we work together within priority settings and processes as it comes to solid waste resource and resource management. This will appear in the operational budget coming forward to you on March 9th. But our portion, as the recommendation states, I think is, don't have it directly in front of me here. That states it's $3,839. It's a very minor amount that we contribute to this, but we do get a lot of resource and benefit from it. And it's just a continuation within our partnership processes. So if council has any questions regarding it, please let us know.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? Okay, so there is a recommendation in front of us here. Does somebody want to move the recommendation? Okay. Councillor Daphne.
I so move that council approve the town of Lunenburg's required municipal contribution of $3,839 to the 2026-27 Region 6 solid waste management budget as outlined in the Region 6 intermunicipal committee budget.
Moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fullerton. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried. So we move on to 11.3, budget variance. There's a report in your package. Lisa or Kathleen aren't here tonight, but does anyone have any questions that Paul can take back to them, or just a straightforward variance report? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to notice of motions, and I'll start to the left this week. Councillor Fullerton. Okay. Councillor Fullerton.
Just that committee work is ongoing. On our March agenda, there are numerous town council meetings, committee of the whole meetings, budget meetings. It's a busy month. And I would just like to recognize that this coming Sunday, March 8th, is International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greek.
I have nothing to report this week.
Councillor Babineau.
Nothing from me as well.
Councillor Daphne.
Before I do my little blurb, I want to do a notice of motion to have staff just look at the video surveillance bylaw of other communities and just come back with a report. I think we owe that to have a look at it. Owe that to Ms. Rofi. Okay. From senior safety meeting last month, a local senior was granted their wish. Their wish was to have a book of their jokes published. So 30 copies have been made. And that was done through a not-for-profit organization called We Are Young, which is based out of Halifax. And they grant unfulfilled dreams and wishes for seniors. And my mother was actually granted one to see the Rockettes on Broadway, but unfortunately, Mom passed away before she could do that. The contact information for We Are Young, 902-701-8848. Also from senior safety, there was, due to the snow in the last month, there were many calls for snow removal help from seniors. You never know when you may gain a new friend, as did a younger friend of mine when I put her in contact with a senior who required a bit of shoveling done. So now they've kind of bonded. 2 senior safety academies upcoming, one in April and one in May, and there will be more information to come. And then lastly, and most importantly, for all you sports nuts out there, I want to direct your attention to the Atlantic Division of the NHL. Montreal is ahead of the Bruins, and the Leafs, well, they're there, but you can hardly see them.
Thank you. That's wrong.
Okay. A very happy 90th birthday greeting is extended to Mr. Ben Smith, who lives on Green Street and will turn 90 on Thursday of this week. Belated birthday wishes to Lori Swim, Deborah Glassman, and Mary Mills. So I've been busy with meetings, so that's a kind of a nice segue to try to track people's birthdays. I've been attending Lunenburg Academy Foundation, which I would remind everyone is holding its AGM on March the 25th. And we hope to see you there. Harborview Haven meeting, South Shore Library readings, Cultural Tourism Working Group. I think we've had our last one before the recommendation will come to council. But the most exciting thing that happened to me was going to Joggins with our staff fellow over here who drove and didn't mind my terrible directions. Right, Mark? Okay, anyway, we got to see the world, that's for sure. The event was to release funding for the Atlantic Canada's UNESCO corridor. And I'll just read you a little bit from that. This initiative puts Destination Canada's Atlantic UNESCO Tourism Corridor strategy into action by strengthening cooperation among provinces, communities, and industry partners. Again, a really good time for something like this to be happening with the cutbacks happening to tourism in Nova Scotia. Together, they are advancing shared goals for sustainable tourism growth while supporting the Government of Canada's commitment to build a stronger, more innovative economy that creates new opportunities for visitors to experience Atlantic Canada's cultural and natural heritage. These corridors exist in every province, but we're the only UNESCO corridor. Am I right? Yeah. There's a bike route through Ontario. There's a fossil route through Alberta that actually crosses the border. It's very exciting. And the thing that really impressed me was that I was actually overwhelmed there because everybody came up and said, "You're from Lunenburg. Great town, you know, like we're really respected wherever you go." A reminder that the Lunenburg Heritage Society is hosting a high-spirited night of camaraderie and rum-running tales tomorrow evening, March the 4th, from 7 to 9 at the Tin Roof Distillery. Admission is free, and there are complimentary appetizers. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. And basically, I just want to, people keep asking me, I guess, because I don't really say a whole lot at this part of the meeting, but this month alone, just to let people know, I have 17 meetings already on my calendar. That doesn't include meetings with developers, organizations, the CAO, et cetera. And for whatever reason, lately the media has been picking up on our meetings. So we've been had a few interviews in the last week and a half to 2 weeks, and there's one more scheduled for this week with a local station. So again, it's been incredibly busy, and this month is going to be even busier because of the storms last month. We've had to push some meetings out. So there's going to be 2 council meetings back to back, and then the committee of the whole meeting on the Tuesday that we usually have off, and then another council meeting. So there'll actually be 3 council meetings out of the 4 Tuesdays, plus a couple other budget meetings. We have our strategic planning session, and you know, we have some meetings with the MLA and some other stuff going on. Today, for example, I met with the consultants at the Academy Foundation, and we met with NSPI for an hour and a half this afternoon. So there's always lots going on in this little community. And yeah, it could snow tonight, and I have nothing on the schedule tomorrow, so I might not leave the house. So anyways, that's just an update of what we've all been doing. And I'd also like to add that it's very nice to see my council colleagues and staff as well out at community functions throughout the community on the weekends and in the evenings on their days off, and when in events they don't really have to attend. It was nice to hear that there was some of my colleagues at the breakfast at the Curling Club over the weekend where they were able to raise over $20,000 for Fisherman's Memorial Hospital. So again, the more we're out in the community and the more we help and contribute, the better for everybody. So I want to thank my colleagues for the time they take away from their schedules, because as everybody knows, being a town councillor is certainly not meant to be a full-time job. So we'll move on to items for consideration at the committee of the whole. We actually have a couple notices of motions where I'm sure there'll be reports coming back at a future committee of the whole meeting at that time. So I'd say we don't add any more items at this time, because we do have a number of items that we have to deal with currently. But the 2 items we discussed tonight was the vending bylaw and the camera bylaw incident. So again, we'll be discussing both of those at a future committee of the whole meeting. So motion action list, that is on every agenda. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just for your motion action list, just for council to confirm, if you look at your priority B, during the capital budget deliberations, the washroom pad at the Lunenburg Academy was removed. Would council like to see that removed from the list or moved to priority C, as in maybe considering for future budget?
Personally, I don't see any harm in C. They're having a strategic planning session done at this point, as well as I think Upland is doing a lot development plan. So once both of those are done, they might come back with some recommendations that might shock us. And I'm not sure if all of you will be interviewed or not by the consultant, but I certainly was today. So I would suggest moving it to C if you're all okay with that. Everybody good? Okay, we're moving it to C. Good. So then we'll move a motion to move into closed session. Moved by Councillor Fullerton, seconded by Councillor Strong. Thank you very much, everybody, and I really apologize for the audio video problems. Obviously, our system is fairly antiquated, so we're working on updating in future, but again, I apologize. Thank you very much.